Hey everyone, it's Types, and today we're taking a look at more custom cards. And today I'm super excited. Honestly, this month, or I guess last month, because I record obviously after the month's done, there were some amazing custom cards submitted every month. I'm going to be going over 10. That's kind of how I do it. But if you're really interested in this video, obviously, and if the video does well, then make sure you like and comment. And I'd love to make another video on this, like 10 more from this month. This month, there were some amazing cards. Again, I'm only getting to 10 in a video because the videos start to get long. But yeah, honestly, some amazing cards to take a look at today, and I'm super excited to take a look at them. Also, I will mention I'm doing it's called like a goofy custom card contest, and I'm really loving those cards, so I'm still doing that. And I'll probably just go over them in the regular monthly videos. But regardless, let's just hop right in with a card from my favorite content creator, my favorite custom card creator, me. No, but it is by me. This is a card I saw all of you making these like super awesome cards, and if you didn't know, these are in my Discord server. You can submit them there. Pretty simple, straightforward. And one I do actually want to mention when I get art, the way I usually do it is, and this is how I did it here as well. I look at art from usually there's an official like contest where you can submit art to Pokemon cards, and then these are the ones that weren't used on actual cards. So that's usually what I like to do. You can find it online. But anyways, this is Melmetal here, and I'm kind of going to go over some of my thought process as well. I will say, in terms of figuring out like stats, like HP, retreat cost, things like that, I usually look at older Melmetals, kind of figure it out based on that. But regardless, we have this ability self-repair. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may discard one of your bench Pokemon. If you do, heal damage from this Pokemon equal to that Pokemon's HP. And then I have this attack here, Scrap Shot, which is Metal Colorless. Put a Pokemon from your discard into the Lost Zone. This attack does damage equal to that Pokemon's HP to your opponent's active Pokemon. I will say this attack isn't super good. I could definitely see it being a little cheaper. I think I was kind of debating how expensive I wanted it to be. If I wanted it to be good, I'd make it a little cheaper. But I wanted to make it kind of similar to an attack that we'd see from an actual card, where Pokemon tends to make their attacks honestly kind of expensive and not super good. Melmetal is a big Pokemon. We see the big retreat cost, the big energy cost, the big HP, so that kind of themingly makes sense there. And then you have the idea of, kind of playing with the Meltans or like the Pokemon that don't have to be Meltan, probably shouldn't be, but you are like, doing like getting rid of your own Pokemon, kind of sacrificing them in order to help this Melmetal. So you get to heal, which is kind of cool. I will say again, this Pokemon isn't super tanky, so the healing of this Pokemon isn't necessarily super powerful. Again, the power level of this card's a little low. It's, I think, reasonable to what would be actually printed, but isn't super good in standard. But then you are just going to Pokemon. You do just get to discard the Pokemon as well, so that allows you to remove it from play. And that's interesting if it's like damage or something like that. So that's kind of cool there. Then you have this attack here, which again, you get rid of a Pokemon and then you can do damage based on its HP. So you're playing with the Pokemon's HP, both with the ability and the attack. I think having, probably most of these Pokemon have an ability and an attack. Having them synergize together, I think is a good thing to do. You see this on some actual cards. We don't see it on all every actual card. You see some that just kind of have random attacks. But I was playing earlier doing the Pitch Black Bill and Battle, which by the way went like super bad. But regardless, I played against a C-Tran. And the C-Tran here burns and then stops damage from Pokemon that are burned. So you have some synergy, very basic synergy there. But with a bunch of Pokemon, you have synergy. There are some that don't have synergy between their attack, like two attacks, like this Tropius as well. There's no synergy really at all. But regardless, I want to have synergy there. So that's kind of my idea there. And obviously, you could do big damage by getting rid of these big Pokemon. And I think that's kind of interesting there. Obviously, I would love to hear your thoughts on, all these cards in the comment section, but especially this one, because again, I haven't like made custom cards too much in a while. I wanted to challenge myself, see what I could make, and this is what I came up with. I think it's okay. I don't think it's like the greatest card ever or anything, but I think it's all right there. Look at this next card here. This was submitted by Flint. This is Kangaskhan. It has the ability Found Trinket, which says at the start of your turn, except your first turn going first, whose Pokemon is in the active spot, draw 2 cards instead of 1. This is interesting because it interacts with drawing your first card in the turn. Obviously, it gets you draw. It needs to be in the active, actually kind of similar. Now that I think about 2 Mega Kangaskhan EX here, being in the active, drawing you some cards, drawing you, I guess, 2 cards, kind of. It really draws you 1, but you do draw 2 cards, obviously. So Kangaskhan there, being a draw Pokemon, is pretty interesting. And then you have this attack Struggle, which for 4 colorless energy, you can attack without having enough energy here, though, and you do 120. But if you don't have enough energy, it does forward to itself for each energy you didn't pay. If you attack for free, you knock yourself out there. And I think this is a super interesting attack and ability. I will say the attack and ability don't really go together, but they're both really like super interesting in my opinion there. The ability, obviously, interacting with the drawing part of your turn, I think is cool. I think the attack, I think the attack's more interesting. Again, I don't have too much to say about the ability, though it is cool. I certainly would not hate this being on a card. It is technically like another thing to kind of keep track of, which could be a pain, but I don't think it's really an issue. But the attack, being able to attack for cheaper with a substantial downside is really cool. I think the downside is fair. Generally, damage yourself isn't too bad. I mean, if you knock yourself out, that is bad. So you don't want to attack for free. You can attack for 1, but then you're down to 10. If you attack for 2, you're down to you do what? 80 to yourself, so you're down to 50 there, which I think is fine. That's probably what you'll be looking to do, but it definitely is a card that's dynamic, which is really interesting. It's not too complicated. Custom cards, I will say. So a few things about this, if you haven't seen my custom card videos before, I'm not like necessarily ranking them, but obviously I want them to be cool if they're like good and stuff. And a good custom card is one that is in some ways balanced. I don't think balance is a huge deal. People I think sometimes like to act like balance is like a huge deal with custom cards. Sometimes it could be, but generally that's not what I'm looking to do. Or to have like a custom card can be great even if its balance is a little off. But then it needs to be like interesting, and I'd say more interesting than a regular card. A little bit. This one is definitely more interesting, and it doesn't need to be crazy out there, but it can be crazy out there as well. It shouldn't be one that like completely hurts your brain every time you play it. Maybe that's a little too far. Again, I did like goofy card competition, so something for that could definitely be pushing it a bit more there. But okay, this is Kangaskhan. I really like the attack. It's just super interesting there. I know struggle is an attack in the video game. I don't really know how it works. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work like this though. Regardless, yeah, like a super cool Pokemon here. We have this Araquanid. This one's interesting, I will say. So it has this ability called Swing In. There's another Pokemon with the ability Swing In. To be honest, I'm not going to lie. I don't really care about the attacks here. This one has, for each bench Pokemon with Swing In, it does 10 to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, which is fine. I don't have too much to say about it. To be honest, I generally am not a huge fan of these archetypes that, like United Wings, which is actually in Standard if you didn't know, technically. And also something like hide and seek, bug out, things like this. I mean, I don't hate them, but I don't think they're super. They don't encourage a ton of creativity in deck building. In gameplay, they can definitely be interesting, but in terms of deck building, they are a bit, linear because you have to play these like certain Pokemon. It fills up a bunch of deck slots, which I don't love. Again, I don't hate this, but something like say Zoroark EX, I think is a little more interesting. And something that would like work with lots of different Pokemon. Like for example, an expanded form, you have like Flareon and Vespiquen. I prefer that to Mad Party, but obviously when you're more versatile, they need to be doing like less damage because otherwise you're just like objectively better, and you're not really looking for a card to just be overpowered. So there's something I did want to mention there. Long story short, I don't love these cards that directly refer to each other. But then you have this ability Swing In, which is really interesting. Each time during your turn, if this Pokemon is in your deck, when you use a trainer ability or attack to search cards in your deck, you may show one Pokemon with the Swing In ability and put it into your hand. This is really interesting. I've been, getting into Magic Gathering a little bit lately. There's a card in Magic that works like this. It's weird, but regardless, it's definitely really interesting. Being able to be a card you can search for free, which is really interesting. Well, like kind of for free. You need to be searching your deck, but then it's essentially free from there, which is really interesting. I like this. This is definitely something I don't want to see as an actual card. Probably, would it break the game? Probably not, but it is a little weird. But ultimately, being able to search for this card, in a special way is really interesting. This is something else. Again, I was talking how it's kind of interesting interacting with the drawing a card in your turn. Interacting with searching is super interesting here. I think, and again, this card's by Flint. I don't know if I said that, but this is definitely super interesting, allowing you to find this card in a different manner, right? So I think this is a super cool ability. I love to see it just on different Pokemon. I think it's cool. Again, there was another card submitted with this ability, which had like a different attack. similar idea, I think. But ultimately, I think the ability is super cool. Definitely something that I think fits a custom card really well here. Then we have the next card here. This is submitted by D4C. This is Zoroark EX with 280 HP here. Obviously, it's an EX Darkness here. This is once during a turn, you may choose one of your Darkness Pokemon you discard. This Pokemon has that Pokemon's ability until your opponent's next turn. Then you can't choose that Pokemon again with Bandit's Illusion during this turn. I don't know if that matters too much, to be honest. It's limited to type as well. I always think copying abilities is interesting. I've yet to see one that I think is literally perfect, but I really do like this design. Allowing you to copy these Darkness Pokemon. Obviously, you have like some different options. You don't have like an absolutely crazy amount of options. Well, I don't know. Depends if you're talking about this in standard or not just standard. But even in standard, you have like Scolipede EX. You have some different options as well. You have like Zoroark EX. Overall, it's pretty cool. It's not, again, like broken. I definitely wouldn't say copy abilities definitely can be broken. It can be terrible as well if you in some situations, but I think this is a cool ability here. And then the interaction with the attacks, Counter to a Surprise, is really cool as well. For 2 Darkness to do 120, you do 120 more damage to your opponent's active if the Pokemon chose with Bandit's Illusion has less HP than your opponent's active Pokemon. This is interesting. I will say you technically don't have to use Bandit's Illusion, right? So then the wording of the attack, I mean, presumably you don't do extra damage, but the wording's a little weird. But this is definitely interesting. I will say, I feel like at first I was going to say, like, oh yeah, all the time you're going to be choosing Pokemon less HP than your opponent's active. But that's not necessarily the case. So definitely something interesting there. In terms of how much does this matter, it matters some. It's definitely interesting to have a reason to potentially choose weaker Pokemon with the attack. Maybe include a Pokemon like, I don't think there's a Darkness Baby, but like some like Zubat or something. I think there's a Zubat in Standard with 40 HP. Let me double check on that. Yeah, there's a Zubat. Let's see. I'll do Pokemon that are okay. Yeah, so actually the only Pokemon that meets that is actually the Zubat. There's nothing with lower HP than that, but that will allow you to do the extra damage like all the time. I mean, if your opponent's Pokemon has 40 HP, you don't need to do the extra damage anyways. The amount of HP they need would be. I mean, you could have a Pokemon with 120 HP, and then that would get you there all the time. So, definitely an interesting attack here and ability. I think the ability is cool, definitely, but I've also seen a lot of ability copying abilities, which again are cool, but then you have this extra sauce here with the attack that interacts with this. So I think this is a super cool card yet again. Then we have the next card here. This is submitted by Darcixion called Ancient Cave Writing. It is an item. I will say, generally, again, balance doesn't matter too much. I wouldn't say it matters some. But this one's kind of egregious. I'm not gonna lie. This card's like very powerful as an item card. I will say the art like looks sick. Generally, I don't care too much about the art, but I think this I think interesting styles can be cool. If we can do something really special and unique with the art, I like that. This one does it pretty well there, and it's readable as well. Sometimes when art gets out there, it can be a little hard to read. It's a little hard to read the artist name. But other than that, it's just pretty doable. But then you have some different things on this card here. So you can only play one Ancient Cave Writing per turn. That's fair. Again, as I said, this card's kind of overpowered, so limiting it to once per turn. I mean, you'll kind of see why as well in just a moment, but overall, I don't think it necessarily needs to be there. I think if the card is balanced a little differently, though maybe it kind of has to. But anyways, you have then what the card does, which is discard a card from hand, draw 3. Ultimately, I think this is a little too powerful. It increases your hand size on an item. Yes, you need to be able to discard a card, but it is very good. Generally, you'll have a card you're fine discarding, but even if you don't, you're still increasing your hand size off of this item. So I think it's just a little overpowered. On top of all the others, well, the fact you can only play one per turn means it's a little. It's not like something you just want to automatically include 4 copies of, but I'm sure you'd include a copy of this in realistically every deck in the game, because it is just going to increase your hand size essentially all the time. But anyways, then you have this other effect here which says, oh, and by the way, I assume this card is not intended for standard, as you'll see in just a moment. You can use the effect, the following effect, only if you have 4 or more cards that have Professor in the name in your discard pile, and it's once during your turn, you can put this card from your discard pile into your hand. So that's really interesting, encouraging you to play these different Professor cards. Yes, you could play 4 caps of Professor's Research, but then you need all 4 in your discard. So if we... Oops, I cannot spell. There we go. Professor. If we look at standard, there are none, right? So if you look at expanded, there's a wait, it's supporters, right? No, cards. So Professor's Letter would count as well, which I kind of forgot about. I'm not gonna lie. By the way, side note, if you didn't know this, you can't play Professor's Research, Professor Sycamore, and Professor Juniper in the same deck. You can only play one of those. It's a rule. It's honestly a kind of silly rule in my opinion. Same thing for Bossaurs and Lysander. I mean, I don't know. Is it overpowered? It's not really overpowered. It kind of goes against the spirit of the cards. They reworked it to make it Professor's Research with the subtypes of the other ones. But also, like, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't need to be a rule in the game. It matters for, like, GLC if you're playing that. But that's actually a separate rule. So, yeah, I think it's weird. But regardless, you have these different Professor cards. Professor Leventon is terrible. A card I actually got wrong once in, like, a game that was kind of weird. But then also, you have obviously Professor's Research. You have the professors with the Ancient Future ones. You have Professor Burnett. Got some other ones like Professor Oak's setup and Professor Elm's Lecture, which help you set up, and then Professor Cuckoo as well, which is interesting. And you also have some other ones that aren't as good there. But sorry, I was looking at Imposter Professor Oak. This card, wait, this card's legal? No, okay, this card's not legal and expanded. I was to say, I don't think it's legal. Looks like Limitless gets a little goofy there, but anyways, this is it's interesting how it interacts with these cards here, and encouraging you to play some different interesting cards is cool. Again, I don't necessarily love cards that force you to play too many specific cards, but this encourages you to play a handful of cards to have different values, like you know, plus and minuses there. Honestly, if this was just 4 different supporters, it could be cool. 4 supporters, 4 supporters, or 4 different supporters. Obviously, theming wise, it's like researching, and you're like a professor doing research. I guess not pun intended, but yes, I guess where Professor's Research the name comes from, and then you're researching this writing or something like that, and so then you're able to like reuse it, which is cool. I guess I don't know. I think the theming is fine. I think. Again, the power level is a little too high. I like the idea of reusing. I think it should probably just be draw 2, to be honest. I think draw 2, then it's okay. It's not amazing, but it's definitely not terrible. I imagine some of you are thinking, like, what, discard 1, draw 2? Then that's a net of 0 cards in your hand, right? You play 1, you discard 1, then you draw 2. So that's net 0. That being said, you are still, like, filtering through your deck. So it's definitely okay. It's definitely not, like, it's not broken or anything. It's mediocre. Not super impressive without the fact of being able to replay it, but being able to replay it makes it pretty interesting, and then actually is going to increase your hand size as well. Yeah, which is pretty cool. So I like this card a bunch. I definitely think it is probably out of all the cards the one that probably kind of needs tweaking. Maybe the one that with the ability of letting you search it, I think is somewhat mediocre. But this card is a really interesting idea there. We have Mega Scolipede EX here. This one was submitted by Shadow Cypher. This is a Pokemon with the ability Poisonous Drop. Once on your turn, you may discard a basic Darkness Energy from your hand. If you did, the wording I think is a little clunky. I don't think long. I don't think you need all the stuff here, if I'm not mistaken. But maybe I am mistaken. And then if any basic Darkness Energy was discarded in this way, place 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon EX. This is fine. It's cool enough. Power level wise, I think it's fine. So yeah, cool enough card or ability there. Then the attack Toxic Overflow. I will say the synergy between the attack and ability there isn't too much. But you have the stack Toxic Overflow doing 180 for 3 energy, which isn't super good. But if it knocks out your opponent's active Pokemon, and damage beyond that, Pokemon's remaining HP is dealt to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. This is really interesting. I might have seen this attack effect before, but being able to make some use of the extra damage honestly feels really cool. I really like this card. It's pretty simple. Theoretically, it might be. I don't know. I mean, honestly, it's not that hard to write or understand. There might be some weird rules stuff. Honestly, with like a lot of these cards, there might be some weird rules stuff. Having weird rule edge cases isn't too terrible, unless they come up all the time with a card. Having a card then that is easy to understand conceptually though is more important there. So I think this really fits that. I really like this card. It's again pretty simple here, but I do like it quite a bit. Then we have the next card here. This one is Akari's Sneasler EX. This was submitted by Sailor May. It has this ability here which says that as long as this Pokemon is on your bench, if your opponent's Pokemon puts damage counters on their active Pokemon during Pokemon checkup, you put 3 more damage counters on that Pokemon. And you have this attack here called Dire Clutch as well, which says you, for free, you do 160. Okay, this is, I actually didn't read this card for that well the first time I read it. 160 for free is a little overpowered, or it's like overpowered. I wouldn't say it's horrendously overpowered. I mean, compared to what Pokemon would print, it is very overpowered compared to, like, how good would this be in the metagame? It would be a little too good, is what I'd say. Now, then you have this attack here, flip through coins. If the first, by the way, this attack should probably be like 2 energies, is what I'd say. Or actually, no, I wouldn't say it should be 2 energies. I'd just like decrease the damage by a bunch. But anyways, you have this attack here. And then you flip through coins. If the first is heads, the defending Pokemon is now poisoned. If the second is heads, the defending Pokemon is now burned. And if the third is heads, then it's now confused. This is really interesting. Caring about the order of the coin flips is really fun, in my opinion. And then Dire Counting synergizes with Dire Clutch, though you need a second one, which is interesting there as well. I might say the ability could work in the active. I guess it's intentional that it doesn't work in the active, though, there. Yeah, I mean, this stack is super interesting, and the way it synergizes the ability is cool as well. I'm not 100% sure how this works with burn and poison, because I think they're done at different points, I think. So it's a little confusing, or I don't know if confusing. I'm not sure about that, how that works with like burn, poison, and Frostlass. If you have all 3, are they taking 9 extra damage counters or just 3 extra damage counters in the total Pokemon checkup? But regardless, it's definitely interesting there, increasing the damage, and then the attack, again, I like how it synergizes there. I think the different coin flips is really fun. I think, coin flips I don't generally like too much if they're super swingy, but, having these 3 different ones, I think it balances out a little. It makes it fun. I think coin flips should be fun. Coin flips don't necessarily need to be good and probably shouldn't be too good or impactful. Like in the Kangaskhan EX, sometimes coin flips can be super impactful, and I just don't think that's very fun. I think, sometimes they are not that impactful, and then they don't matter, right? So I think being somewhere in the middle is good, and I think this, meets that pretty well. Or this should be really silly, like when it was like flipping a crazy amount of coins. But I really like this here. And then again, the attack is too powerful. It should be, I'd say, a lot cheaper, or sorry, not cheaper. It should be either more expensive or weaker. There we go. But I really like this card here. Then we have the next card here, Blanche's Liepard EX. This one is again by Sailor May. With a fun little ability name, Formidable Fraud. Once at the end of your turn, I will also say it has this attack here, Dire Claw, which for Doctor's Colors does 180. You discard energy from both active Pokemon. And then that's cool. Obviously, discarding from your opponent's Pokemon can be nice. And then discarding from yourself, there's a reason for this as well. And it has synergy with the ability, which I think, again, you want synergy between the different things on a card. The ability here is really interesting. It says once at the end of your turn, after you attack, which we see this from time to time, you must put a special energy card from your discard pile on the top of your deck. If you can't, discard 4 cards from your hand. This is really interesting because it's encouraged, it's special energy recovery, which I believe Sailor May said that this was, meant to be a card that is balanced special energy recovery. To be honest, special energy recovery isn't that broken, I wouldn't say. In general, Pokemon just doesn't really print it, but it's not that broken, I don't think. I mean, you see in expanded, there's special charge. Special charge is quite good, though. I mean, it's not broken. I mean, the reason it's kind of broken is because some of the special energies in expanded are kind of broken, and even then, special charge isn't broken and expanded, I don't think. Though I don't play it too much, but here you have this special energy recovery card, and there's a legitimate sketchiness to it, right? It's really nice if you can use it, but I will say, it's not I think it might be a little underpowered, to be honest. I'd probably put it into your hand, I would say. But again, if you can't do it, you lose a bunch of cards in your hand, that's bad. Technically, you could make some world, or this could be good to discard cards in your hand, but realistically, I can't see that being good. But I really like this card a lot with a legitimate, legitimate downside here. The upside is pretty cool as well. Again, the upside, I don't think it's actually quite good enough for the downside, but obviously you have control over it as well. So a super cool ability here, and yeah, just really, really like this card. We have the next card here, Deoxys EX. Oh, this doesn't have. Oh, okay. So this card is really interesting. This one, I believe, was submitted for like some of the goofy cards. It's not. It's a little weird. Also, I don't know what this attack name is. Like, if someone knows what this attack name is, like, am I missing something? I thought this was like some. I don't know. I don't know what this is. So if someone tells me, hopefully it's not like bad. I obviously don't know because I don't know the attack name. But if someone knows, tell me. And we got some like backroom stuff going on. Which is fun enough, I suppose. And the Deoxys kind of fits there. And then we see that it has this not no HP, like unknown HP. Oh, this was submitted by Weird Fishes as well. But this has this ability countdown, which says this Pokemon's HP is equal to the number of cards remaining in your deck times 10. This ability cannot be nullified. I haven't seen the word nullified used before. I'm not sure if that's the right terminology. It doesn't really matter because, the idea gets across here, but interesting to see there. Obviously, it's important that the ability doesn't get turned off because then you just get knocked out. And the card like doesn't. Well, I don't know if you get knocked out. It just like doesn't work. So because you won't. It's not like you have no HP. Well, I mean, you don't have HP. You don't have an HP essentially, like at all. It's kind of weird there. And then I will say you could give this Pokemon 0 HP or some amount of HP, and then say it gets more HP for each card in your deck. But this is interesting as an ability. I will say, this is definitely not a card I'd want to see. Some of these are a little goofy. This is pretty goofy, but I definitely wouldn't want to see this because, well, you need to count like the amount of cards in your deck like every turn, which is like really horrible in terms of actual gameplay. So, probably don't want that there. Also, I was gonna say it's too good, but then you're also discouraged from drawing cards. So that's a legitimate downside as well. Then you have this attack, which again I don't know what it is, and I also don't even know if it's like rendered right, but I assume it's rendered right. So then you choose one of your Pokemon in play. The rest of the game plays one Pokemon in play. Probably not your Pokemon in play. And for the rest of the game, put one damage count on the Pokemon during each Pokemon checkup. I am not 100% sure if this works right, because like effects of attacks wear off. So I'm not 100% sure if this actually would, quote, work right, or if your opponent just then like switches to the bench if it just goes away, which is not what you want here. Again, I'm not 100% sure on that. You could actually give your opponent's Pokemon an ability that then will put damage counters on it. That would be kind of interesting. That's now a new custom card idea, giving your opponent's Pokemon abilities. That seems kind of fun. With different Pokemon abilities. It's something we have seen used occasionally. It's not honestly that interesting, but with Deoxys EX here, this is pretty cool. I like this. The attack's fine. The ability is fine. Honestly, it's just like really creative and kind of silly. So I really like this card here. How good is it? I mean, honestly, Countdown. At first, I was like, this is overpowered, but no, it's actually really interesting with the fact that it's a Pokemon that kind of discourages you from playing too many things, which is really fun. So I like this quite a bit here. And then the last card here, this is Arceus. This is submitted by Pyar. This is like definitely a silly card. In some ways, I mean, it's weird. I just have Pokewise and Pokepowers as well, which is interesting, I suppose. Generally, I don't know. I mean, some people like the older wording there, but regardless, it has 500 HP as well. Some of you are thinking, wait, that's like broken, but as you'll see, it's not broken. It doesn't even like really matter, to be honest. But then it also has no retreat, no resistance, no weakness. Again, these things, as you'll see, don't really matter. This is like definitely a silly card. This one might need some changes, honestly, but it is pretty cool here, and pretty weird. So then we see it has these three, I'll say, abilities. There's a typo as well on one of them, which you'll see, or maybe not. I don't know if I'll say what it is, but regardless, you have this ability, Overwatch, which says this card cannot be put into the active when setting up. And then, while this Pokemon is on your bench, it cannot be moved to the active, so it can't be in the active. If this is the only remaining Pokemon, you lose. So then, during a match, this card and cards attached to it are not returned to your deck between games. This is a match, like a best of 3 game. Best of 3 match. And then the games are, after the first game, it will not be returned, which is really weird. I'm not going to lie. This allows you to like thin your deck between games. Very weird there. Just very strange card there. An ability there. And then you have this ability above all, as long as it's on your bench. Again, Pokemon Power / Pokebody. As long as it's on your bench, it cannot take damage. Damage counters are not placed on it. It cannot be KO'd and is unaffected by any other card. So it essentially like doesn't exist. Oh, I said you could thin your deck. You just thin it of itself. I thought you could thin stuff you attach, but also it's unaffected by any other card. I don't know if it can you can like attach stuff to it. But then you have this Pokemon power, which is really important, which says when you take prize cards during your turn, you may attach up to that many cards face down to this card from your hand. And at the beginning, if 10 or more cards are attached to it, then you win the match. So this is interesting. And it allows you. Oh no, sorry, it does allow you to like thin cards, and then you can win the match without winning multiple games. It's a really weird card here. I don't know what I was thinking about this card, to be honest. It's very strange, but it's really cool. So I wanted to highlight it here. Again, just super weird, but super cool. Again, I am like counting some of the goofy cards. Not all of them. I don't know. We'll see. There's one that like doesn't do anything, so I definitely didn't count that one. But again, tell me if you want to see more custom card stuff. I really love custom cards. I love to hear your thoughts on all these cards in the comment section. Also, huge shout out to my YouTube members. So make sure you like and subscribe because that really does help support me in this channel, and also helps the video, get out there to more people. Because I know there's a lot of people, or there are a few people in my community who really love custom cards, and I love that part of the Pokemon TCG community and my community. But it is sometimes these videos don't do so well. But I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure you again do all that good stuff, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.